All right, let's talk about what an Allen charge is. An Allen charge is the instruction that a judge gives when a jury says that they are deadlocked. I'm Eliza Orlins, career public defender here in Manhattan for the last almost 15 years. Okay, so this is called an Allen charge because it came from a case called People v. Allen, but this is basically an instruction that comes from the judge, and it's in order to avoid a mistrial or a hung jury. So the judge instructs them in a certain way to help them hopefully reach a verdict. Usually it includes the judge instructing people to keep an open mind, tells jurors to listen to other jurors, and consider the evidence before them. The judge will emphasize that unanimity is required in order for there to be a verdict, and it also usually includes telling people that they should reconsider their opinions, especially if they find themselves in the minority. Okay, now I want to actually go through the jury instruction. This is not necessarily the one that Judge Mershon uses, but it is the CJI jury instruction that is the standard. So this is the deadlock charge. Members of the jury, I have your note indicating that you have been unable to agree on a verdict. As I told you in my initial instructions, any verdict you return on any count, whether guilty or not guilty, must be unanimous. If you cannot reach a unanimous agreement on a particular count, you cannot return a verdict on that count. And a new trial will have to be scheduled before a different jury. It is not, however, uncommon for a jury to have difficulty initially in reaching a unanimous verdict, and it is not uncommon for a jury to believe that they will never be able to reach a unanimous verdict. But after further deliberations, most juries are able to reach a unanimous verdict, and so I will ask you to continue your deliberations. But before I do, I want to remind you that when this trial began, many prospective jurors were called and questioned. Many were excused for one reason or another, but you, ladies and gentlemen, were selected to serve. That means that of all of the prospective jurors in this case, you were the ones in whom both sides expressed confidence. Both sides were convinced that each of you would be fair and impartial, that each of you would listen carefully to the evidence, to the arguments, and to the law, and that each of you would deliberate with your fellow jurors and work hard to reach a unanimous verdict that was consistent with the law and the evidence. Both sides continue to have confidence in you, as do I. Members of the jury, you make up a very good jury. There is no reason to believe that the prosecution of this case again would be to a jury that is any more intelligent, reasonable, hardworking, or fair than you are. I want to emphasize that I am not asking any juror to violate his or her conscience or to abandon his or her best judgment. Any verdict you reach must be the verdict of each juror and not mere acquiescence in the conclusion of others. But I am asking you to continue deliberating and to resume your deliberations with an open mind. Start with a fresh slate. Do not feel bound by how you have felt before, whether you favored conviction or acquittal. Have the courage to be flexible. Be willing to change your position if a reevaluation of the evidence convinces you that a change is appropriate. Do not, out of pride or stubbornness, adhere to an opinion or conclusion that you no longer believe is correct. Be honest with yourselves and with the other jurors. Listen to the other jurors and evaluate what they have to say. Do not let anything prevent you from carefully considering what they say. Remember that each of you made a commitment when you became a juror that requires you to reason and deliberate together to reach a fair and just verdict based only on the evidence. Of course, while a discussion among all jurors may at times be intense, I'm sure you understand that it can and should also be respectful of the feelings and opinions of other jurors. I urge each of you to make every possible effort to arrive at a just verdict here. Make certain that the decision you reach is based solely on the evidence and the law and is not influenced or affected by sympathy for or against any individual or for or against either side. Be sure that no baseless speculation, no bias or prejudice for or against any individual enters into your deliberations. If I can help you in any way, whether through a further or repeated readback or through a clarification or restatement of the law, I stand ready to do so. Again, please make every effort consistent with your conscience and the evidence in this case to harmonize your views and decisions, in this case with those of the other jurors. To the best of your ability, I ask you to apply common sense and good judgment. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate that the process of deliberations can be difficult. Frankly, it wasn't intended to be easy. So in accord with your oath and your promise to me at the beginning of this trial, please continue to deliberate with a view towards reaching a verdict. So all of that to say, if the jury sends a note saying that they are deadlocked, that they can't reach a verdict or they can't reach a unanimous verdict on some of the counts, we can expect to hear an Allen charge from Judge Mershon to the jury. It might not be that exact Allen charge because he might have adjusted it. Judges often will do their own thing. I've had judges who've given some of the meanest Allen charges I've ever heard. You're the jury we selected. You're the jury who should come to a verdict. And I've felt like it was going to result in a conviction of my client. But knowing Judge Merchan's demeanor and how he is, I'm sure it will be a pretty typical Allen charge. And then we'll see what happens from there. I'm not saying we are going to see a hang note at any point, but we might. So it's good to be prepared, and I'm happy to answer these questions. And please feel free to leave more questions in the comments and like and follow for more. Thanks for being here.